channel. Last time, we went over the history of Kabuki to try to explain how and why it expresses the same stories and heroes found on the No stage, but in a very different musical way. So if you missed that video, please click on the link above. It's a very interesting video. Kabuki has a really crazy history. I highly recommend watching that before watching this video. However, in this video, I would like to give a simple overview of how the kotsuzumi and otsuzumi perform together by taking a look at the Aikata from the piece Kokaji, which is about a master swordsmith making a sword. It's a very simple, dramatic piece. And the Aikata itself is the part where the swordsmith is actually pounding and forging the sword. So let's take a quick look at the musical flow of this piece before getting into some of the details of how the otsuzumi and kotsuzumi drumming parts are performed. So if we look at the very top of this Aikata and Kokaji, we see that it is the otsuzumi that leads us in with a yoi tat, and this is marked with a blue triangle. All of the otsuzumi part is in blue for this particular notation I have written out. And then we have a response in the otsuzumi, tat pon, written in green with a green triangle for tat and a circle for pon. This is the typical pattern we will see in No as well. The otsuzumi leads, the kotsuzumi answers. And we repeat that again, ha, o, ta, pon. And then we have a hit together, yoi, and then we have a bunch of hits together with the otsuzumi and the kotsuzumi, ta, 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 ta. After that, we have this very simple call and response pattern. Once again, we see this a lot in No. Su-ta, su-po, su-ta, su-po, ta, ta, po, po. From here, we get our first hint of a more kabuki-like pattern, which we can call chirikara. And so it gets a little bit faster. Chirikara, suta, su, pon, suta, suta, su, ta, pon. Then we slow down again and have a more typical No-like pattern where they're just calling and responding to each other. Then we slowly start to speed up a little again, suta, suta, su, ta, pon. And then finally, we get our classic chirikara, chiripopo, kabuki rhythm here on this line. And then from there, we have a little bit of a break for a really neat shamisen duet. And once again, we're kind of repeating the same pattern over and over again, even though we have this shamisen interlude. So we have this chirikara su pon, break, chirikara su pon, break, chirikara su pon, chirikara su pon, chirikara chiripopo suta suta su. And then this is where we get a role reversal, where the kotsuzumi is actually leading, which is really interesting and fun, and they move on from there. And the kotsuzumi leads for a while until we finally move back to the otsuzumi leading the ensemble, the drumming ensemble again. And from here, we have a lot of this suta suta su pon, which of course, as this piece goes on, this piece can start kind of slow, but it really does start speeding up as we get more and more excited for the sword being created. Then we have this sort of syncopated feeling pattern, the reason being that who's playing the downbeat and who's playing the upbeat is reversing every beat pattern, and then we go straight again, but now we have even a weirder pattern that we'll go over later that has this suta, this kind of jump wave-like feeling, and you can see here this is marked with a red line in the notation. Then we go back to our more typical call and response pattern, chirikara chiripopo suta su pon, chirikara chiripopo suta su pon, and this kind of gets repeated over and over again. Then we go back to that really, you can see with the red line, that really neat suta pattern. And then we go back to what we had before, chirikara, chiripopo, suta, su, pon. So there's a lot of repeating patterns going on here. So once you've learned the pattern once, you will see it again. It gets easier and easier. However, by this point in the piece, because we're nearing the end, it's starting to get pretty fast. Then we have another moment of break where we're kind of listening to the shamisen part again. So we have the sutasu popon, break, sutasu popon, break. And once again, you will notice the sutasu popon is getting repeated over and over again, getting near the end. And this is when it gets really fast and quite exciting. Chiri kara supo supo, chiri kara supo supo, chiri kara chiri popo, chiri kara chiri popo. And then the two instruments are just calling in between each other, playing off of each other. And then we have our ending cadence. So once again, we are using both the otsuzumi, the hip drum, and the kotsuzumi, the shoulder drum, in kabuki as well. Of course, this is a direct connection to no. They were inspired by the no hayashi, which includes otsuzumi, kotsuzumi, taiko, and no-kan, and they took the entire ensemble and brought it into kabuki as well. However, in kabuki, they started adding new techniques to this main hayashi section. So they kept the old no techniques and the old no patterns, and there is a lot of instances where they're playing the exact same no patterns that you would hear in a no play. However, now they're also adding on their own unique kabuki patterns. One of the most well-known or standing out patterns is a pattern called chirikara chiripopo. That's his name, chirikara chiripopo. And it's pretty easy. Basically, you start with the hip drum, because remember, this is usually our leader. So we have a chiri, and the kotsuzumi answers. Kara. Otsuzumi talks again. Chiri. Again, kotsuzumi. Popo. That's it. Chiri, kara, chiri, popo. Chiri, kara, chiri, popo. Now, you might be asking, why does the kotsuzumi say kara and popo? It's because these two hits, kara and popo, are actually two different sounding hits. They're actually hitting in different locations of the kotsuzumi to make a high note and a lower popo, kind of lower, rounder sound. But that's all chirikara, chiri, popo is. And when music gets really dramatic and really exciting for kabuki, this chirikara, chiri, popo pattern starts to tend to stick out. So when we study kotsuzumi, otsuzumi, we have to learn how to say the patterns out loud because they get really tightly intermixed with each other. If we look at our example, we have Kokaji, which once again, it's about making a sword. So this is the dramatic part where they're pounding and trying to make the sword. So the kotsuzumi, otsuzumi really have an important role in creating this sword. You can see a lot of really dramatic patterns going on here. One of the most dramatic being near the end, where we have this change between the two, the sutasu popon, sutasu popon, sutasu, tatsuta, chiripon. Then we have chiri kara supo supo, chiri kara supo supo, chiri kara chiri popo, chiri kara chiri poto, suta 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 supopon, suta suta pon. Let's listen to that again with both instruments playing at the same time. Just this ending with me saying the shoga, the names of the rhythm out loud. Chiri kara supo supo, chiri kara supo supo, chiri kara chiri popo, chiri kara chiri po, suta 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 supopon, suta suta pon. Now, obviously, when you do this in practice, you don't actually say the rhythm names out loud. You have to be quiet. But we practice those rhythm names because they're so tightly interlinked. Furthermore, there's some other really interesting rhythms in Kokaji. For example, near the end of the piece, we have this interesting rhythm that goes suta, 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 supon, and then we're straight again. The suta, suta is almost like a swing beat. It's not exactly in time, and you really have to get used to feeling it. It doesn't line up perfectly with the shamisen, but it's this kind of neat little pattern. It happens twice in the piece. So that sounds like this if we put both instruments together. Yo. the very beginning, we have this tut 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 tut. That's exactly what the shamisen. So we have the yoi, where the otsuzumi kotsuzumi play together. So yoi. So once you memorize the shamisen part, that rhythm is actually pretty easy to pull off. What's also neat about this piece is there is a moment of a role reversal. So as I usually said, the otsuzumi always leads, the kotsuzumi always answers to whatever rhythm the otsuzumi has started. However, in this piece, in the middle, we have this huge role reversal. Well, suddenly the kotsuzumi is leading the rhythm and the otsuzumi is following. So to put that into context, so first we have our typical chiri kara su po, chiri kara su po. We've done this over and over again already. Chiri kara chiri po po suta suta su. And suddenly we hold out the su. There's this weight. And even in the shamisen, there's this really neat weight, this really neat moment of this gasp, but we wait. And then the kotsuzumi leads. Pon, suta su, pon, suta, pon, ta. Pon, suta su, pon, suta, pon, ta, tu, pon, suta, suta, pon. And then the kotsuzumi leads again. Pon, ta, tat, pon, ta, tat, pon, ta, ta, pon, ta, ta, pon, po, po, pon, roi. And then once again, the otsuzumi. So this really kind of exciting role reversal. If you listen carefully, these drums are playing along with the shamisen duet as well. Let's listen to this entire ainote instrumental section of Building the Sword with just the shoga, the rhythm patterns being said out loud so you can see how they interact with each other. Then let's watch it again in context with the music of what it actually sounds like all put together. Yoi, tap, pon, ha, woo, tap, pon, yoi. Suta, su, pon, suta, su, pon, ta, ta, pon, yoi. Chiri kara suta, su, pon, suta, suta, su, ta, pon. Ta, 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 cho, ta, pon, pon, su, pon, suta, suta, su, ta, pon. Chiri kara, chiri popo, suta, suta, su, pon. Chiri kara, chiri popo, suta, suta, su, pon. Chiri kara, 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 chiri popo, suta, suta, su, pon, suta, su, pon, suta, pon, ta, pon, suta, su, pon, suta, pon, ta, su, pon, suta, su, ta, pon, pon, ta, tat, pon, ta, tat, pon, ta, ta, pon, ta, ta, pon, po, 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 yoi, suta, su, pon, suta, suta, su, pon, su, pon, suta, suta, su, ta, pon, yoi, pon, suta, suta, su, pon, suta, suta, su, pon, suta, suta, su, ta, su, pon, suta, su, ta, ta, suta, su, ta, ta, suta, su, ta, su, ta, suta, su, pon, suta, 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 su, pon, suta, suta, su, ta, pon. Chiri kara, chiri popo, suta, suta, su, pon. Chiri kara, chiri popo, suta, suta, su, pon. Chiri kara, su, pon, suta, su. Chiri kara, su, pon, suta, su, pon. Chiri kara, su, pon, su, pon. Chiri kara, su, pon, su, chiri kara, chiri popo, su, ta, pon. Suta, su, pon, suta, 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 su, pon. Suta, suta, su, ta, pon. Chiri kara, chiri popo, suta, suta, su, pon.
チリからチリポポスタスタスポスタスポポンスタスポンスタスポポンスタスポンスタスポポンスタスポポンスタスタッタチリポチリポンチリからスポスポチリからスタスタチリからチリポポチリからチリポスタスタスタスタスタスタスタスタスタスポポンスタスタポン
いそのし
So we have covered the kotsuzumi and otsuzumi drumming parts in this video so far, and how the Kabuki theater incorporates new rhythms not found in no theater. This includes chirikara and chiripopo to create an even more dramatic picture of a sword being forged and pounded in the most entertaining way. We have even gone over some of the most rhythmically interesting moments found in this particular Aikata. This includes a role reversal of the two drums, where the kotsuzumi leads instead of the otsuzumi, as well as moments of pause that creates tension or a sense of ma to create even more drama within this piece. But there's still one element we are missing when talking about the music of the Kabuki theater. This element is not just a feature of Kabuki music that isn't found in no music. It is the backbone to all of the musical expression going on within the Kabuki theater. This feature is the shamisen instrument itself. So please join me next time as I go through how the Kabuki theater uses and expresses the shamisen instrument in conjunction to the kotsuzumi otsuzumi part within this Aikata for Kokaji. I hope to see you then. Bye!
Yo!